Welcome to the Courage to Change with Karen podcast, the place where we get real about addiction recovery and celebrate the victories against struggle. I'm Karen Gardner, your navigator on this journey of healing, committed to uplifting families touched by addiction. Together, let's unravel the intricate dance of mind, body, and spirit with compassion, tenacity, and steadfast commitment. Hi, this is Karen with the Courage to Change podcast, episode 14. Today I'm going to read a reading from Courage to Change, April 5th. As wonderful as it is to see a loved one find sobriety, it often presents a whole new set of challenges. After all the years of waiting, many of us are dismayed when sobriety does not bring the happily ever after ending we're awaited. We once knew exactly what to expect, and now everything suddenly seems different. The homebody is never home. The life of the party is always sleeping. Communication, intimacy, sex, responsibilities, and decision-making all change. At the same time, problems that we always attributed to drinking may persist even though the drinking has stopped. This stirs up some very strong feelings within many of us. Even longtime Al-Anon members may find it more important than ever to get back to the basics of our program and learn once more to focus on ourselves. It's all right to feel disappointed, skeptical, resentful, joyous, excited, or confused about our changing circumstances. By accepting whatever we feel and sharing about it with other Al-Anon members, we are better able to take care of ourselves. Today's reminder: I will allow myself the dignity to discover, I will show myself the dignity to discover exactly how I feel about the changes that are happening today, and I will share those feelings with an Al-Anon friend. Al-Anon gave me the awareness that what I felt did matter. You know, this is a great reading. This is so important to your program. In fact, it's so important, I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it again. And just this first paragraph, because it's so important, okay? As wonderful as it is to see a loved one find sobriety, it often presents a whole new set of challenges. After all the years of waiting, many of us are dismayed when sobriety does not bring the happily ever after ending we awaited. We once knew exactly what to expect, and now everything suddenly seems different. The homebody is never home. The life of the party is always sleeping. Communication, intimacy, sex, responsibilities, and decision-making all change. At the same time, problems that we always attributed to drinking may persist even though the drinking has stopped. Okay, so this is, you know, when you love somebody who is drinking or using, and all you can think about is they're drinking and using, right? You're monitoring every minute. You're monitoring how much they drink, where they went, how long they've been out, what they said. You're so micro-focused on that. I mean, that's just the way it is. At least it was for me. I was constantly trying to figure out, I don't know, like I wanted to prove that they were really drinking. I wanted to prove there was a problem. And I don't know if I was trying to prove it to me or like I thought other people, you know, I needed to have proof. You know, I don't know what that's about. I guess for a long time I felt like I was crazy. I didn't know if it was really, if this is a situation, is it not a situation? Are they drinking too much? I think they've relapsed. I mean, it was constantly, I felt kind of crazy. And that's all I thought about it. And so you think, oh my God, if they just could quit drinking and using, everything would be great. Well, the truth of the matter is is that when they get sober, it's a whole new chapter. Things don't revert back to the way it was when you met them or when you got married, right? It doesn't revert backwards. It's moving forwards, but differently. You almost have to mourn the person that they once were, because it's gone. It'll never be the same. Once you've suffered from alcoholism and addiction, it's not going to be the same. You'll either proceed drunk and loaded, or you'll proceed sober. Either way, it's going to be different. So that's the first thing you got to know. If you have this idea that you send someone off to treatment and they come back, your loving son or daughter, like they were in high school, that's not the way it is. Okay? So sobriety brings its all new sets of challenges, and you have to know this. There's a whole book on this, a whole chapter on this in the book, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's called The Family Afterward. There's 2 chapters in there that are written for the family. One is The Family Afterwards, which talks about this stuff, and the other one is To the Wives. And To the Wives actually is like to everybody that's connected to the alcoholic addict. Okay, but at the time, mostly men, women weren't allowed in Alcoholics Anonymous in the beginning. And so it was mostly men, alcoholics. And so they wrote the chapter To the Wives, to the friends and family of the alcoholic. If you can Google that, if you don't want to buy a big book or there's not a big book in your house, Google The Family Afterwards big book and read it. It's free, it's online. It's going to seem dated and old, but it applies. And that's what they're talking about here. First thing, when an alcoholic or addict gets sober, they're going to be tired. Even if they come home from 30 days of treatment, sometimes it takes a year to just get your body back. Like, you're so exhausted from the drinking and the thinking and the whole thing. I mean, it's not a picnic. If you love someone who's drinking and using, and you think it looks like they're having a grand old time, if they're in advanced stages of alcoholism and addiction, they're not. They may act like they are because they're loaded, but it's very, very, it's a horrible place to be. So first thing they're going to need to do is they're going to need to sleep. They're going to be tired. They're going to need to eat. They're going to, if you have a meth addict on your hands and they quit meth, they're going to sleep for like 3 days straight, maybe 4 or 5, and they're going to wake up and eat everything in your house. This is just the way it is. This is not personal. It's not so they can get away from you. That's it. When they start going to meetings, hopefully they're going to get a program so they can treat their alcoholism after treatment or after their detox. And when they do that, they got to get all in. In the beginning, they got to get all in. They got to put their sobriety first, or they can't do anything. They won't be able to be a part of the family at all. So let them do it. Let them get all in. Let them go to meeting after meeting after meeting. Let people pick them up for the meeting and take them to coffee, and let them do it. It's going to take some time. It's like a fish living out of water. And I can say that because I am a recovering alcoholic addict. Living sober is not easy for an alcoholic addict. And they have to learn like you're learning to walk. Everything feels foreign. Everything feels bad. You feel out of place. And it takes us some time. And water does seek its own level. I mean, things are going to balance out. They're not going to be at meetings forever. Let them do it for the first 6 months or a year. Let them get a good solid foundation. And, and don't micromanage their stuff. You need to go to a meeting. Don't do that. Don't get involved. They've got to do it. It's their problem. Let them do it. You need to work on yourself. That's why Al-Anon's so important. You don't just need Al-Anon when the person's drinking and using. You need Al-Anon when they get sober. You're going to be mad because you want, now they're finally home from treatment. You want them to start making some money and paying the bills and getting things organized. And sometimes they just can't. They just can't yet. And sometimes people get sober and they come back to the house and they want to take over everything. They want to start making the rules and handling the kids and handling the bills. And you're like, wait a minute, you've been gone. You don't know anything about what's going on around here. You've been mentally checked out. You've been drunk. And now you want to come in and be our hero. And it'll piss you off. And so this is a difficult time. That's why they wrote a whole chapter on it in the big book. This is difficult. And you will have an easier time of it if you have something to focus on of your own. And that is you and your program. The kids might be angry because dad's back, mom's back, but they're always at meetings. They never have time for them. It's going to take some time. And some things, like it says in the reading, some things that you thought, you were blaming the alcohol for, how can I put this? Like an example, he's such a slob. When he's drunk, he leaves his shit everywhere, dishes in the sink, doesn't care about anyone, just flops his stuff down. Then he gets sober and he's still doing that. And you're like, this is just an example, but you're like, oh my God, I thought that was because of the drinking. So you're going to have things like that. You're going to have to give it some time so you can figure out if it had anything to do with the drinking or not. Some people have relationship issues, and they have the same relationship issues when the person gets sober. And so it's hard to figure out what was drinking, what is just not working. I had a question about that this morning. What if somebody's sober and you're still having trouble? What if they're sober for 10 years and you still, well, I don't think that has anything to do with their sobriety. I think you're just having problems in your marriage, and you might want to seek out some marriage therapy, counseling. Maybe you've done that. Maybe you're just done. You know what I mean? So it takes some time to sort all this out. And the best advice I can give you is to go to Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, start your steps, get busy in the program, make friends in the program, do your own thing, get your nails done, whatever you're doing. If you run, go for a run. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Keep taking care of yourself. And the motto in the house should really be live and let live. Just let everybody settle in. And it's going to take time. And kids aren't always so patient and forgiving, and they can become cynical and mean. And I think you got to just let them. You got to let them feel their emotions. You got to see if they'll talk about it. How can you make this easier for them? Maybe some therapy, some counseling, some family sessions. But the best thing is just everybody relax. Just give it 6 months. Let's just see what happens. And keep your feet firmly planted in Al-Anon. Because you don't know what's going to happen. You really don't. Either way. So I love the reading today. I think it's something we don't talk about enough. When codependency has to be treated. You have to do this. I mean, people say, well, his drinking doesn't bother me that much. Well, that's not the point. The point is that there's something going on with you. And if you don't fix it, they could get sober and you will be suffering still. And you think it's all about their drinking. If they just quit drinking or drugging, you'd be happy. But then they do, and you're not happy, and it's frightening. Or they get better and you don't, and you start seeking out other people. that are just like them, that are sick, that you can look after, worry about, control, it switches around on you. Just like the alcoholic, when they quit drinking, sometimes they'll start smoking pot, or they'll quit smoking pot and they'll start gambling. I mean, they like switch addictions. The same thing can happen with the codependent. You'll just switch the people around. So you need to look after your own recovery and buckle in, buckle up, and buckle up the kids or whoever else is in the house, because when someone gets sober, there is a transitional phase and you got to just leave them alone. It's hard enough to stay sober. I mean, that's the hardest thing. If they start smoking more or they eat and put on 15 pounds, don't say anything. Just let them let them figure out how to stay sober. They'll take off the weight later. They'll quit smoking or whatever they're doing. But just try to give everybody in the house some space, live and let live, love and tolerance. And this is where you really grow spiritually. Learning these kind of things has been the hardest for me, love and tolerance. It's been a journey, and it's been so worth it. I got to tell you, I've learned so much about myself from trying to keep my mouth shut, minding my own business, not making big drama situations, and just try to take care of myself, So I love the reading. I love you. I'm so happy you tuned in today to do this reading with me. I would love any feedback. Please subscribe if you're listening. There's also a place to leave me notes if you like this episode. If there's something in particular you want me to talk about, let me know. That's why I have those notes open, so you can communicate with me. And other than that, don't forget, in the notes, there'll be a link for the Facebook page that you can join, the Courage to Change Facebook page, which is a private group with more support that I'm on every day. So check it out. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Thursday.